Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
It's a wonderful, wonderful honor and a wonderful joy to be here at this beautiful parliament. The theme of the session here today is shifting from perceived reality to reality. And Pujya Swamiji's particular topic within this theme is finding peace within the chaos, being able to anchor ourselves in that peace amidst the ups and downs of life. When we talk about perceived reality compared to reality, that implies somehow that there are two different things, that we could actually go from perceived reality to reality as though they were separate, as though the perceiver and the perceived could somehow be torn apart, as though the observer and the observed were two different things. These days, in modern physics, they've discovered something they call the observer effect. And what that means very, very simply is that he who is observing something in a science laboratory is actually impacting that which he or she is observing. They were getting all kinds of end results in the same experiment. And what they found is that different observers, their natures, their moods, their thoughts, actually and directly impacted the end result. So where does the observer end and the result begin? If we look at a flower, for example, a beautiful flower, we could say, well, the reality of that flower is that it's yellow. And that's true from our perspective, because we can't see infrared and ultraviolet on the spectrum. But if you ever could see a flower from the perspective of a bee, what you would know is that what looks yellow to us actually has runways on it for the bee. The bee doesn't have to figure out where in the flower to land to find the pollen. God has given it these beautiful runways, just like an airplane, right into the center. So is the reality of that flower that it's yellow or that it has runways? I begin with these questions because they're very interesting philosophically, and yet ultimately what we need to look at is not philosophically where does the observer end and the observed begin, but in my life, what's my reality? How is my perception of reality causing me to be in peace or to be in chaos? There's a hurricane. That's a reality. But the hurricane also has an eye of the hurricane. That's also a reality. Is my reality that I'm the hurricane or that I'm the eye? And so our path really needs to be a path of finding that peace in what we call the chaos. And part of that awareness is that the chaos is not outside of us. The chaos is inside. Similarly, the peace is not outside of us, but the peace is also inside. So that shift from the belief this perceived reality that we're being given by our culture, by society, that which we want, joy, love, that it's somehow something for us to purchase, obtain, acquire, order, download. No, it's within ourselves. It's not something outside. There's a wonderful story of a woman who's searching in the road in the middle of the night under a bright street light. And she's on her hands and knees looking, and a wise man walks by and he says, "Can I help you search? What have you lost?" She says, "I've lost my key." The man says, "Let me help you." So he too gets down on his hands and knees and they search, and after some time, no luck, no key. He says, "Mother, where have you left the key?" And she says, "Oh, I left it inside the house." He says, "Well then, why in the world are you searching for it out here in the road?" And she says, "Because it's bright out here. There's this very bright street light, and inside in my house it's dark. I can't see anything." So the man says, "Mother, go back inside. It may be dark, but eventually you'll find it." And I love it because it's the same thing that we do in our lives. We search outside for this peace. We believe that the chaos is outside, and therefore that the peace must also be outside. We believe that the chaos is mortgage rates and inflation rates and interest rates and our in-laws, our spouses, our children, our employers, our employees. But the chaos is within. Last summer, I was traveling with Puja Swamiji in the United States, and it was the end of the July 4th weekend, which is the busiest travel week in America. And it was Sunday, and we were in the New York airport. And there was a big storm, so all of the flights were delayed and canceled. And the tension in the airport was brewing and brewing and brewing, and people are standing in line to shout at the gate agents, shouting at the ticket agents, shouting at everybody. And of course, our flight was also canceled, but in the midst of it, Puja Swamiji sitting very calmly, very peacefully, watching people just almost want to strangle these poor gate agents as though they could make the flight. And finally, Puja Swamiji looks at me and he says, "Did you say that these people have just returned from vacation? They may have been tanned. They may have spent a week relaxing and resting on the beach, on the coast. But that relaxation had not gone within. A mere delayed flight or a canceled flight was enough to undo a full week of rest and relaxation and holidays. It hadn't come within." So the only answer is to turn within, to re-anchor ourselves in the divine. And it doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter what name, what form you use for the divine. But if we're anchored in that, then no matter how much the waves of life go up and down, we will stay anchored. We will stay grounded. And that's what's important, because that peace is not something we can find from outside. We all know we're never any happier, any more peaceful, any more content. We've bought something or gone somewhere or acquired something. That which really brings the inner peace, the inner joy, is connection. And connection to what? Connection to that which doesn't go up and down. Connection to the divine within ourselves. I want to end just by sharing one of my favorite jokes. It's sort of a story, sort of a joke, and it goes like this. A man went to see his doctor, And he complained to the doctor that everything hurt. He said, "Doctor, whenever I touch my head, it hurts. I touch my back and it hurts. I touch my knee, it hurts." And the doctor was very confused because typically people come with only one complaint, a headache or a backache or a stomach ache. But this man says everything hurts. Whatever I touch, it hurts. So the doctor ran every possible test and scan. And at the end, he calls the man in and he says, "I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is there's nothing wrong with your head or your back or your stomach. The bad news is your finger is broken. So naturally, whatever you touch, it hurts." But the problem wasn't outside. The problem wasn't the head or the knee or the back. The problem was the finger. And that's the bottom line message. In our lives hurt. But we think they hurt because of everything outside. Ultimately, like the man with the broken finger, it's our broken connection to the divine. And when we reset that connection, sure, mortgage rates and interest rates will still go up and down. Our in-laws, our spouses, our children, our employers, they're not going to do what we want. But touching your body with a finger that's not broken hurts a lot less than touching your body with a finger that is broken. And going through life with a connection that's intact, a connection that's grounded and anchored, it makes us stable, regardless of what the world may bring. And then that divine connection is our reality. It is our perception, it is our truth, and it is which we are anchored in, that which we can spread and share with everybody and help other people go from their own perceptions of chaos to the reality of peace and truth. Thank you.